Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, Counter Spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Robert Young, as Father Knows Best, as we go back 69 years to the last season of the radio show, February 25th, 1954, as Jim Anderson teaches his youngsters how to write checks. It's going to get crazy. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Saturday, 25th day of February. This is the 56th day of the year, and we do have 309 days remaining until we get to 2024. George Washington held the first cabinet meeting as president on this date in 1793. 1836, Samuel Colt received a patent for the Colt revolver. In 1837, the first electric printing press patented by Thomas Davenport. 1870, Hiram Rhodes Revels, a Republican from Mississippi, sworn into the Senate, becoming the first African-American ever to sit in Congress. And yes, he was a Republican. J.P. Morgan incorporated the U.S. Steel Corporation in 1901. 1919, Oregon placed a 1 cent per gallon tax on gasoline, becoming the first state to levy a gasoline tax. Glacier Bay National Monument, established in Alaska on this date in 1925. Glacier Bay National Park now and preserved. In 1925, the diplomatic relations between Japan and the Soviet Union established. 1928, Charles Jenkins Laboratory of Washington became the first holder of a television license from the Federal Radio Commission. Of course, it was not television as we know it today. It was a totally different system. Adolf Hitler obtained German citizenship by naturalization on this date in 1932, which allowed him to run in the 1932 election for president. The first Pan American Games held in Buenos Aires on this date in 1951. In 1954, Gamal Abdel Nasser made premier of Egypt. And in 1956, in his speech on the personality cult and its consequences, Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev denounced the actions of Joseph Stalin. It was on this date in 1961, Muhammad Ali, then Cassius Clay, defeated Sonny Liston in Miami Beach to become the world heavyweight boxing champion.
I was so bad he had to go to the hospital, and I'm still pretty. What you gonna say about that, huh? He's never been stopped. He's never been, oh, I'm so great. Oh, I'm so great. I didn't stop the fight. The doctors had to stop it. Oh, I'm so pretty. I shook up the world. Never write about me like that. Never make me 6 to 1. You just make me angry. Never make me no underdog. And never talk about who's gonna stop me. Because ain't nobody gonna stop me. Not a heavyweight in the world fast enough to stop me.
Cassius Clay learned a lot from professional wrestling. And that's what made him so popular. And that's what sold tickets. Cassius Clay beating Sonny Liston on this date in 1964 to become the heavyweight champion. Germany gave $5 million to an Arab terrorist on this date in 1969 as ransom for the passengers and crew of a hijacked jumbo jet. 1971, the first unit of the Pickering Nuclear Generating Station, the first commercial nuclear power station in Canada, went online. The People Power Revolution on this date in 1986, as President Ferdinand Marcos of the Philippines fled the nation after 20 years of dictatorial rule. Corazon Aquino became the first Filipino woman president. An Iraqi Scud missile hit an American military barracks in Bahrain, Saudi Arabia on this date in 1991.
It's total. The whole thing's gone. Everybody in it is either wounded or dead.
How many people were inside?
About 130 maybe. There's 53 for sure. That was my unit. They're gone.
A soldier talking about that attack in Bahrain, Saudi Arabia on this date in 1991. Patti LaBelle won her first Grammy in the Best Female R&B category, sharing the award with Lisa Fleischer in the first tie since 1986. Patti LaBelle dedicating the award to her sisters who had passed.
This means that my sister can rest in heaven, because before she died, before all my sisters, 3 sisters who died to cancer, and my mother and father, they said, you got to get that Grammy one year. And when I said this is for them, this is because they always thought I could, I always thought I couldn't. And this is for them. It really means a lot.
Patti LaBelle, Grammy Award-winning artist on this date in 1992. Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ opened in theaters on this date in 2004. It was Ash Wednesday. Many critics rallied against the film's over-the-top brutality. Mel Gibson responded.
I want people to understand the reality of the story. I want them to be taken through an experience. I want them to feel.
People didn't understand, and many still don't. Mel Gibson on this date in 2004. White House announced the Dubai company poised to take over the port operations on this date in 2006 agreed to a cooling-off period, hoping it would be enough to appease some members of Congress. It didn't do the trick, neither for Republicans or Democrats. As dock workers rallied in Philadelphia against the port deal, Congress refused to back down. In Miami, Senator Chucky Schumer pushed ahead with emergency legislation to block the deal.
To allow a company controlled by a country that has had a nexus of terrorism is something that doesn't make much sense.
Of course, when it comes to doing business with China today, Congress didn't back down. They blocked the deal from happening. Also, on this date in 2016, 3 people killed, 14 others injured in a series of shootings in the small Kansas cities of Newton and Heston. Passing away on this date in history, poet Thomas More, gangster Bugs Moran, the writer of Peyton Place, author Grace Metalius, the Muslim leader Elijah Muhammad, playwright Tennessee Williams, actor Jimmy Coco, actor Darren McGavin, actor Bill Paxton, and the only Surgeon General of the U.S. to become a household word, C. Everett Koop, all passing away on this date in history. This is the birth date of Jim Backus.
Oh, hi, Fay. It's great to see you again. Oh, wait a minute. You're not Mr.
That is correct.
Well, who are you?
Allow me to introduce myself. You are in the presence of the wealthiest man in the universe, Hubert Updike III.
Well, you could have remained seated in your chair. Why do you stand up when you say your name?
Out of respect. I'm in my presence, too.
Well, I must be in the wrong office. I wanted to see the president of NBC.
I am the president of NBC and the owner. Dear old Dad bought it for me for my birthday.
Mr. Magoo Thurston Howell III, such a funny man. Jim Backus, born on this date in history, as was Enrico Crusoe. Zeppo Marx, the fifth Marx brother. Tennis player Bobby Riggs. Bluegrass musician Ralph Stanley, the creator of MASH, Larry Gelbart, the delightful band leader, saxophone player Tommy Newsom. He did some funny stuff on The Tonight Show. Also singer Farron Young, George Harrison of the Beatles, and race car driver Davey Allison, all born on this date in history. Sally Jesse Raphael, still wearing those silly red glasses at 88 years of age. Bob Schieffer of CBS News, 86. Ric Flair, who had his last wrestling match last year, believe it or not, at the age of 73. He turned 74 today. Comedian Carrot Top is 58. Téa Leoni is 57. From Lord of the Rings, the son of Patty Duke and John Aston, Sean Astin, 52 years old. Spanish singer Julio Iglesias Jr., 50 years old. From Parks and Recreation, Rashida Jones is 47. From Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, and now in AEW in their Ring of Honor reboot, Maria Kanellis is 41. From Malcolm in the Middle, Justin Burfield is 37. The Fred and George Weasley twins, James and Oliver Phelps, turned 37 today, from the Harry Potter movies, of course. Also, Isabella Furman from The Hunger Games, 26. And from Bambi 2, Brendan Berg is 25. Those some of the people celebrating the 25th day of February as their birthday. And if this happens to be your birthday...
Hi, we're the 4 freshmen, and we just want to say... Happy birthday to you.
Robert Young, Father Knows Best, 69 years ago today, February 25th, 1954, on this Saturday, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox here on your favorite radio station. Now we go back 69 years, February 25th, 1954, Robert Young as Jim Anderson in Father Knows Best.
Now listen to Father Knows Best, transcribed starring Robert Young as Father. Welcome to Springfield and another half-hour visit with the folks in the white frame house on Maple Street. Sit back and enjoy life with the Andersons. Kathy, Bud, Betty, Margaret, and Jim, as the head of this typical American household, again sets out to prove that Father knows best. To most Americans, a bank is a fairly familiar institution. It's the place where you keep your money. It's the place where the guard in a uniform rocks back and forth on his flat feet and watches you with a suspicious eye while you try to find the line that will move the fastest. Never do. However, there's one American by the name of Jim Anderson living in Springfield who feels that his particular family holds the national, if not the international record for knowing less about the functions of a bank than any other group of humans on the face of the earth. How did he reach this conclusion? It all started one Saturday morning when Jim was at his desk in the den going over his checkbook. Like this.
6250 less 12. That was on the 23rd. 975 to Snow's drugstore on the 24th. 2480 for groceries. 650 to A.G. Clark. Bud!
Yeah?
Stop that confounded racket.
What does it sound like?
It sounds terrible, and I'm trying to work down here.
Does it sound like a duck?
I don't know what it sounds like. Just keep it quiet.
That's what it's supposed to sound like. A duck.
All right.
A mallard duck.
All right.
A mallard duck that's lonesome.
All right. Bud!
Okay.
Oh. Now, where the heck was I?
Are you in here, dear?
Yeah, what is it, honey?
What are you doing?
I'm trying to balance the checkbook to the accompaniment of a flock of lonesome ducks.
Ducks?
I don't know. Bud's upstairs making strange sounds. I swear, this is the noisiest house.
Sounds fairly quiet to me.
Wait till the next flight of mallards go over.
Oh, what I came to tell you, dear. We're going out tonight, and the cleaner is bringing your suit back today. You'd better give him a check.
A check? What for? You paid the cleaning bill just last week.
I did?
Honey, don't you keep track of these things. That's what a checking account is for. So you have a record of what you've paid.
I know. I just didn't remember paying it.
Well, look right here in your checkbook. The stub will show when you paid it. It'll be right in here with the... Hey, what's this? These two are blank.
Oh, there were a couple of checks I wrote. Must have been in a hurry. I didn't take time to write on the stub what they were for.
You didn't put down the amount either.
Well...
No date either.
Well, I was in a hurry, dear.
Oh, Margaret, how are you going to tell who you paid and how much if you don't write it down on the stubs?
Well, I wrote it on the check.
But we don't have the check.
Well, the bank can tell us. They keep records of all those things.
Honey, they can't keep track of who you give your checks to.
Then I think we should go to another bank.
Margaret. Bud!
That was geese.
Can you keep it quiet, Bud?
Wild geese.
You'd better stop it, Bud. You'll have a wild father.
Anyway, you're familiar enough about banking, Margaret, to know that your check stubs are your only record of what you've paid.
I know, dear, so I forgot to write it down on the stubs. Look on the back of the checkbook. I sometimes jot things down there.
Back of the checkbook.
Yeah, what's that written down there?
Call Alice about the prunes.
Oh, I've got to do that.
Margaret. Oh, me. Bud!
I'm coming, Dad.
You don't have to come down. I swear I'm going to take those stairs out and put in a ladder.
How do you like this one, Dad?
Oh, Bud, what in the world are you doing?
Does this sound like a moose?
It sounds like a cow with her tail caught in the barn door.
Joe and I are going into business. Moose calls.
Well, that sounds like a nice practical enterprise. Must be literally thousands of people with a burning desire to call a moose.
Yeah, we're going to make all kinds of calls.
Good. Why don't you make one down the street somewhere? I'm trying to do a little work.
The idea is you make a noise like an animal, and then another animal hears it.
Yes, I get the idea.
Like the moose, for instance. Now, a moose, he hears that, and he says to himself, "Hey, man."
I thought this was a moose.
Yeah. Well, he says to himself, "Hey, moose, what have we here?"
Yeah, I know, Bud.
So he comes running to take a look.
I understand the principle, Bud. Now, why don't you go down to Joe's house and...
We're going to sell kits.
Kits?
Yeah. You buy a kit, make your own moose call, duck call, or whatever you want to call. We're going to make kits for calling anything you want.
Well, that's fine, but
Would you like to invest some money in the company, Dad?
Not right now, Bud.
We got a good name for it. We're going to call it the Irresistible Noises Corporation.
Well, fine. When I see Irresistible Noises preferred on the stock exchange, I'll consider it.
We only need about $20 to get started, Dad.
Not today, Bud.
But, gee, you got your checkbook right there. All you have to do is write out a check.
I can see that a certain innocence about the cold facts of checkbooks tends to run in this family.
Huh?
Bud, you don't just write out a check when you want money.
I know. You got to cash it.
It's true. But there is also another factor involved. Trivial, I grant, but nonetheless to be accounted for. That is the little matter of having money in the first place.
I just remembered. One of those checks in my book I wrote for Kathy's dress.
Well, good. How much was it?
I think it was $7.85.
All right, we'll put that down.
Or was it $8.75?
Honey, there's a difference. These amounts have got to be exact or I can never balance my books.
Why do you have to balance them?
So that my figures here in the book coincide with the amount in the bank. I have to know how much money we have left in the account.
Why don't you call the bank and ask them?
But banking doesn't operate that way.
Oh, that other check was to the milkman. I just remembered.
What was the amount?
I think I have it written down on the telephone pad in the kitchen.
Oh, this would make a bookkeeper's hair turn gray.
How about the $20 for the company, Dad? It's a gilt-edge investment.
Not today, Bud.
I could give the money right back to you.
Oh, how do you figure that?
Easy. I'll get a checking account for the company, and I'll give you a check for $20.
But if you give me the $20 back again, you're out of business.
Why?
Because you don't have any more money.
Sure I do. I gave you a check. I still have the $20.
You don't either. I take your check down to Snow's drugstore and cash it, and I have the 20 back again.
Not my 20.
Then where did I get it?
From Snow's drugstore.
Bud, look.
Father!
Yes?
Can you come up here a minute?
I'm busy right now, Princess. What is it?
I'm upstairs.
I can't come up there.
In my bedroom.
Bud, will you tell her?
He's busy!
Never mind, I'll come down.
Dad, maybe I could get a loan from the government.
Yeah, drop a line to the Treasury.
Father, look what Aunt Harriet sent me for my birthday. $25.
Well, that's fine, Princess. Try to hold on to it. At least until this afternoon.
I don't see any $25.
She didn't send it in cash, stupid. It's a money order.
Money order?
It's much the same thing as a check.
Hey, that's pretty good. Where do you order the money?
You don't order the money.
You said it's a money order. Where do you get the money?
Well, where do you get the money for this, Father?
Well, let's see. That's a postal money order. You can get it from the post office.
Who sent it to the post office?
Nobody sent it to the post office.
Then how are you going to get it?
Bud, this is like a check, as I said. It's a promise to pay. It's the same as cash.
If I went to the post office and promised to pay, would they give me $20?
No, Bud. Aunt Harriet bought this money order in Chicago. That means that the post office there promises to pay to the bearer $25.
So she's got to go to Chicago to get the money.
What you kids don't understand is that the transfer of funds in business is managed on a credit basis.
Like a charge account?
Well, something like that. I'll explain it to you sometime.
Hi, Daddy.
Hello, kitten.
What's going on? Nothing, Shrimp. We're talking about money. That's good. Can I have my allowance, Daddy?
Well, I don't have the change with me right now, kitten.
Why don't you give her a check?
What's a check?
I'll take a check for my allowance.
What'll I do with this money order, Father?
If I were you, I'd put it in the bank.
I thought you had to go to the post office.
I don't know who was more confused, Jim Anderson or the kids. Father Knows Best, February 25th, 1954, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We'll have the news from 69 years ago today, but first, these important messages from your favorite radio station. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday. Just when you thought it couldn't get any better, Mike Lindell and MyPillow launching the MyPillow 2.0. Now, when Mike invented MyPillow, it had everything you could want in a pillow. Now, nearly 20 years later, he's discovered a new technology that makes MyPillow even better. Of course, the patented adjustable fill of the original MyPillow, but now with brand new fabric with a temperature-regulating thread, it's the softest, smoothest, and coolest pillow you'll ever own. Say goodbye to tossing and turning and flipping your pillow over in the middle of the night. And more great news on the MyPillow 2.0 buy one, get one free offer with my promo code Wyatt. MyPillow 2.0 is 100% made in the USA, 10-year warranty, 60-day money-back guarantee. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio podcast square to receive the MyPillow 2.0 buy one, get one free offer. Use my promo code Wyatt or call 1-800-928-4715. Thanks for spending part of your Saturday with us here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We're listening to an episode of Father Knows Best as it was originally broadcast on Thursday, February 24th, 1954. In the newspapers of that Thursday, 69 years ago, these were some of the headlines. Secretary of State John Foster Dulles said last night Communist China will be brought to account before the bar of world opinion at the Geneva Peace Conference. In a nationwide radio television address, Dulles dismissed as without basis any fear that agreement to the April 26 meeting implies diplomatic recognition of Red China. The Chinese Communists, at Russia's urging, will be seated at the Geneva Conference, which will discuss the future of Korea and seeks to attain peace in Indochina. Democrats yesterday mapped a drive for further personal income tax reductions this year, and a high Republican source said mounting pressures probably will cause the Eisenhower administration to go along with some cuts. He didn't indicate what forms they might take, but said they could be made retroactive to the first of the year. Secretary of the Army Robert T. Stevens yesterday bowed to demands by the Wisconsin Republican Senator McCarthy in the latter's investigation of alleged Army communist coddling, and today's widely heralded public showdown was called off. Thus, the nation's TV viewers will not see the expected face-to-face encounter between the Wisconsin senator and the Army civilian chief. In a sudden change of attitude, Stevens agreed not only to give McCarthy's Senate investigating subcommittee the names of everyone involved in the disputed case, but also promised they would be produced as witnesses. Pope Pius XII, still too feeble yesterday to permit x-rays that could diagnose more fully the ailment which has sapped his strength dangerously for a month. The head of the Roman Catholic Church approached his 78th birthday next Tuesday, too weak to say Mass. Today, as he has for some time, he heard Mass said at a portable altar near his bedside. Marilyn Monroe, her curves hidden under a long mink coat, paused in Honolulu yesterday on her way home from Korea, long enough to learn she had a slight case of pneumonia. Marilyn's illness attributed to her exposure to freezing temperatures in Korea, while clad only in a clinging, low-cut cocktail gown. And a motorist from Cranston, Rhode Island, sheepishly swears this story is true. He was driving on the Merritt Parkway toward New York when his car stalled and he discovered his battery was dead. He flagged down a passing driver who was a woman. She agreed to give him a push to get the car started. Because his car has an automatic transmission, the driver explained to the lady, "You'll have to get up to 30 to 35 miles an hour in order to get me started." The lady nodded wisely, and the stall driver climbed into his car and waited for her to line up behind him. He waited and waited, turned around to see where the woman was. She was there all right, coming right at him at 30 to 35 miles an hour. The crash caused $300 to damage to his car. Those some of the day's top news stories as heard in the newspapers of Thursday, February 25th, 1954 on your radio Father Knows Best, and which continues now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
What'll I do with this money order, Father?
If I were you, I'd put it in the bank.
I thought you had to go to the post office.
No, just take it to the bank, open a savings account, and they'll take care of the whole thing. Now, run along, kids. I have a whole stack of bookwork to do here.
What about my allowance? I can't go to the bank today, Father. They're closed.
If you're looking for a place to put your money, I've got a red-hot proposition.
I can imagine.
It'd be better than putting your money in a bank. You give it to them, and it just sits down there in an old safe.
No, Bud, that's not true. In the first place, Betty, if you deposit that money order in a bank account, the money's never actually in the bank.
Where is it?
They just tell you it's there, huh?
If you put the money in, then why isn't it there?
It's there if you want to draw it out. But the money isn't actually there.
Oh, that sounds like a crooked deal.
But I'm trying to explain...
Well, I took bookkeeping in school, and I never understood why, if you put money in the bank, that the money wasn't really there.
It's very simple. You see... Well, wait a minute. I know what we'll do.
I don't think you can explain it, Father.
I'm not going to try to explain it, Princess. We're going to open a little bank right here so you kids can see how it operates.
Who's going to run it?
I will. I'll be the bank. We'll call it the Anderson First National Trust and Savings.
Hey, Mommy, come here. Daddy's going to be a bank. How can you do it, Father?
What's this about someone being a bank?
Father's going to do it.
And you're going to be the banker?
Certainly. All it takes is a few minutes of bookkeeping, and I can't think of a better way for the children to learn the basic principles of banking. I think this family circle bank idea is a real good thing. Wouldn't be surprised if it caught on around the country. Might even make a national magazine.
When do you want to start, Father?
Why wait? Let's begin right now. The doors are open. Ladies and gentlemen, the Anderson First National Trust and Savings Bank of Maple Street is, as of this moment, officially in business.
Act 2 of Father Knows Best in just a moment.
February 25th, 1954, Father Knows Best on this Saturday, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We go back 88 years on Sunday's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, an episode of the West Coast program Calling All Cars from February 26, 1935. Two men have robbed a bank while wearing masks, and there's more crime to come. That's on tomorrow's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, but now the conclusion of Father Knows Best. Thursday, February 25th, 1954.
Well, there's a new bank in Springfield. It's called the Anderson First National and is the brainchild of Jim Anderson, who is also president, vice president, chief teller, and head bookkeeper. At the present moment, the assets of this novel financial institution amount to exactly $30. A $25 deposit by Betty and Kathy and Bud's respective allowances, minus one check for 19 cents written by Bud. It's Saturday evening now. Jim and Margaret are in their room dressing for an evening out.
This tie look all right, honey?
Fine. Just straighten it a little. You seem to be enjoying something.
Oh, just laughing over the way the kids responded to the bank idea. Did you see Bud when he came upstairs?
Walking around with his checkbook in his shirt pocket?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's a big operator now.
They're going to learn more out of this than they could get in a month of Sundays at school.
By the way, dear, do you have money enough for tonight?
Oh, I have $15 or $20.
Is this your money or the bank's?
It's mine. That's the only thing wrong with the bank at this point. The depositors haven't put in any cash. I just have Betty's money order and Bud and Kathy's allowances on the books. And speaking of the books, I wish you could remember that other check you wrote. Who you made it out to and what it was for.
I've been trying to recall. I'll think of it. You'd better hurry, dear. We're supposed to meet the Williamses at 6:30.
Plenty of time.
Father, I just talked to Ralph, and he wants me to go to the church bazaar with him tonight.
Well, good for Ralph.
I'll need some money.
All right. Make out a check, put it through the bank.
I left my checkbook down in the den. Are you coming down?
Be there in a second. Now, you see how much better this is, honey? With the children writing checks on their own accounts, they're going to think twice about spending money.
Could be. Though it didn't seem that Betty devoted much thinking to the matter.
Well, just give her time.
Father!
Coming, Princess. I'll go down and handle this financial transaction. You come down when you're ready, honey.
I'll just be a minute.
Father, what did you do with my checkbook?
I haven't seen it, Princess. The bank is only responsible for the depositor's funds, not his checkbook.
Oh, here it is, up on the bookcase. These little books are cute, Father. Where'd you get them?
Oh, there's some old ones I had kicking around in the desk. Now, how much do you want to draw out of your account?
Oh, $5?
All right. But remember, it's a lot easier to draw money out of the bank than it is to put it in.
I know. To cash. $5. Signed, Betty Anderson. There, how's that?
That looks all right.
Hey, is the bank open?
For a few minutes. You'll have to get in line. There you are, Miss Anderson. $5.
Thank you.
Now, what can I do for you, young man?
I want to get a loan from the bank.
A loan?
Joe and I are starting a business. We need some capital.
Not to make more of those moose calls.
No, we gave up that idea. It's only good during hunting season. We got a real practical business that's good all year round.
Well, a bank is always interested in aiding any new and constructive enterprise. What sort of business are you planning, Mr. Anderson?
We're going to buy up old automobile inner tubes and make hip boots out of them.
Hip boots out of inner tubes?
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, if you can find enough people with curved legs.
We figure we can make $10,000 the first year with no trouble at all.
How much do you think you'll need to get this hip boot factory off the ground?
About $10.
Well, this is the way a bank operates. We take the capital placed with us by our depositors and put it out in good interest-bearing loans. You'll have to pay interest on this loan, you know, Mr. Anderson. That's about 6% per annum.
Oh, I don't want any annums.
That means 6% a year, Dopey.
Oh, well, that's okay. Do I get the loan?
Well...
Wait a minute, Father. Do you mean you're going to lend him the bank's money for that silly business?
Well, that's the way banking operates.
But you'll be lending him my money.
That's all right.
It isn't either all right. I'm not going to let him buy old inner tubes with my money.
Now, just a minute. The loan is going to be secured. By the way, Mr. Anderson, when a bank lends money this way, it has to have some collateral.
Oh?
Do you have any collateral to put up?
I don't know. What is it?
Collateral, lame brain, is something you put up to guarantee that you'll pay the money back.
What do you have in your company that you could put up?
Well, all there is in the company is just me and Joe. I could put Joe up.
Oh, brother.
It isn't customary to put up one of the partners of a company as collateral for a loan. We'll have to have something tangible.
What's a tangible?
What's a tangible? Father, it seems to me this bank is catering to an extremely illiterate clientele.
Oh, he's learning, Princess. That's the whole purpose of this idea. Now, tangible collateral, Mr. Anderson, is something of real value.
Joe's pretty valuable. To his folks.
No, I mean something like a camera or a bicycle.
I guess I could put up my bike.
All right. Now, you just sign this piece of paper here. This says that you agree to pay back the $10 plus interest and that the bank becomes the legal owner of the bicycle until the loan is repaid.
Okay.
Now, are you getting the idea how a bank operates, Bud?
Yeah. But what happens if... Well, I mean, in case I can't pay back the $10.
Then you lose the bicycle.
Yeah.
Father, you mean I have to take over that old beaten-up bike of his for my $10?
No, Princess. The bank takes it over. You can still draw out your money anytime you want it.
But how can I draw it out if you've loaned it to Bud?
Well, until the bank liquidates the bicycle, your deposit is secured and payable from other deposits.
What other deposits?
Well...
I'll get it. Hello? Oh, hi, Janie. Yeah. Do they have to have it tonight? Gee, I'll try. Maybe I can borrow it from Father.
Uh-oh.
Don't let her do it, Dad. Make her put up some collateral tangible.
Yeah, well, thanks for reminding me. See you tonight.
Problems, Princess?
Father, I need $50. It's for our Glee Club trip to Omaha next month, and they have to have the cash in advance.
Don't do it, Dad. You'll have to take over Omaha.
Well, you have $20 in the bank. That means you'd have to borrow another $30. That's a pretty big loan.
I could pay it back out of my allowance.
Where's the collateral?
Look, you've done your banking. Get out of line. Daddy, I want to cash a check.
Get in line, Shrim.
You better close the doors of the bank. Your mother and I have to leave here in a couple of minutes.
I have to leave too, Father, but I have to pay Mrs. Lacey for my Glee Club tickets tonight.
All right, you need a loan of $30.
I want to cash a check for my $2.50. Will you wait? I want to get my money before it's all gone.
Now, just a minute, Kathy. What do you have to put up as collateral, Miss Betty Anderson?
Oh, Father.
Business is business.
All right, I'll put up my record player.
That beat-up old thing. Don't lend my money on that, Dad.
Mine either. You don't have any money left in the bank.
Hey, I do, too. My allowance. I still got $250 in the bank. I want to write a check, Dad.
Now, look, you can't just draw your money out.
You said we could.
Yeah, you said we could write checks anytime as long as we had the money in the bank.
Yes, but...
Father, I have to leave.
All right, sign the paper. The bank becomes the legal owner of the record player until the loan is paid back.
Get the records, too.
Father, tell him to stop it.
Bud, stop it.
The record player's no good without the records.
Look, I'm running the bank.
Oh, I want to get my money out. Here's my check, Dad. Give me $250 cash.
All right.
$250 for me, too.
Well, don't grab it out of my hands.
Please, Father, I've signed all your stingy old papers. A $30 loan and my $20 in cash.
Princess, I don't have $50 in cash. In fact, I don't have any cash left.
Oh, I'm sure glad I got my money out of this bank.
Are you broke, Daddy?
No, I'm not broke, but you've cleaned out all the cash I had with me. I'll give you a check, Princess.
On what bank?
On the bank downtown.
Oh, okay.
You'd think you kids didn't trust me. All right, there you are, Princess.
Thank you, Father.
Well, I'm ready, dear. Are you?
I guess so, but...
Bye, Mommy. Bye, Daddy. I'm going over to Patty's.
We'll pick you up over there when we come home, Angel. Well, are you finished, Mr. Banker?
Yes, I'm finished.
Bye, everybody. I have to meet Ralph.
Betty, just a minute.
What is it, Father?
Where is that record player?
Oh, I think it's over at Janie's.
Over at Janie's?
It is unless she loaned it to Marcia. Bye.
Dad, I'm going over to Joe's. I'll see ya.
Bud, hold it.
Yeah?
Where's the bank's bicycle?
Oh, I don't know. I think Fred Cleaver's got it. So long.
Now, wait.
Something wrong, dear?
Margaret, I've been swindled. By my own children.
I take it the bank isn't doing too well.
I can't understand it. It was such a good idea.
How much capital do you have on hand?
Capital on hand? Are you kidding? The bank is broke and I'm out $40 of my own money. I don't even have any collateral.
Well, it was a good try, dear. But possibly you're not cut out for the banking business.
I just can't figure out how they did it. It wasn't intentional, I know, but they cleaned me out. I haven't a nickel. We can't even go out tonight.
Yes, we can.
How, may I ask?
I remembered what I wrote that check for. It was for cash yesterday, and I still have $20 left.
Well, bless you.
Shall we go, Mr. J.P. Morgan?
to circumstances beyond the control of the president, the Anderson First National Bank has raised the white flag and gone out of business. And this evening, a few days later, Jim is still nursing a few lumps suffered in the big financial crash of Maple Street.
I don't mean to keep harping on it, honey, but you'd think the kids would have understood what I was trying to do and given me a little cooperation.
Well, don't worry about it. Let's just chalk it up as a noble experiment and let it go at that.
But they got nothing out of it. Absolutely nothing.
Maybe not. But think how much you learned about trying to teach children.
Went right over their heads, completely.
Is that you, Bud?
Yeah, it's me.
What in the world do you have in that box?
Well, here's Betty's record player. She wanted me to bring that home for her.
Well, good.
And my bike's outside.
Good for you, Bud.
What's all the other junk in the box?
Oh, this is collateral. Joe and I gave up the hip boot business. We took the $10 and started a bank.
Well, you see, honey, like I said, they learned a real lesson.
Join us again next week when we'll be back with Father Knows Best, starring Robert Young as Jim Anderson. Father Knows Best is an NBC Radio Network production in cooperation with Cavalier Enterprises. In our cast were Helen Strome as Kathy, Gene Vanderpyle, Rhoda Williams, and Ted Donaldson. Father Knows Best, based on characters created by Ed James, is written by Paul West and Roswell Rogers, directed by Arthur Jacobson, and transcribed in Hollywood. This is Bill Foreman speaking.
February 25th, 1954, Father Knows Best on this Saturday, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks for making us a part of your day. Thank this station, support their advertisers. It's their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time you roll around here on your favorite station. If you miss a day, you don't have to miss a single show. All of our shows are available at that webpage, classicradio.stream. Classicradio.stream. Stream our shows. Learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can contact me there, find our social media links. And if you'd like to support the program, you can buy me a coffee. That helps us acquire additional classic radio collections. It really does help us a lot. Classicradio.stream. Thanks for tuning in. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.